Yes, here we are once again. Welcome, everybody. It is noon Eastern Time, and it is, if you're watching live, it is noon Eastern Time, and that means it's time for the High Noon Hemp Show, your favorite hemp infotainment program in the world. The best one. There are none better. Welcome. You can find us in many places, of course. We're on the Facebook, the Hemptations Beach Facebook page. We're also on the YouTubes. We're on the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. You can subscribe there. And if you're on Twitter or X, make sure you're following at Hemptations as well. Of course, I am Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs, which you can search out if you feel like it. He is Beach. He loves hemp. He is high above the flower factory and the Hemptations in Northside. Beach, how are things in this very, very hot week in Hemptations?
Pretty darn hot. It is true. And it's also true that I am high above the Hemptations in the flower factory in Northside for the High Noon Hemp Show today.
There's the sirens
going off.
There
The
you go.
alarm. Oh, yeah, the alarms were going off. It's here. We're gonna call this one the Independence Hemp in America episode. I'm gonna finish the episode kind of shooting that little history. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It does come with a disclaimer. A couple disclaimers, I suppose, but I'll get to that at the end of the episode. Remember, the FDA has not evaluated the show for safety or efficacy. I'm now on week 2 of my meds for being diagnosed for stoner hemp brain disease.
Right.
Continuing on the path. Everything's good. Don't worry about me. You got to go back a couple episodes to get that one. But It's probably going to become a long-standing joke because it's the greatest insult anyone has ever given me ever was being diagnosed with stoner hemp brain disease on Facebook.
There you go.
Because that's why I'm trying to save the planet. I can't. It's the disease that's causing me to act like this. And my meds are, the research in the show. This show is literally medication. Anyway, let's get on with our pledge and get on with the show. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. All right. Well, we got 135 days left to remove Section 781 or to do something about it, November 13th. Now, the latest is the White House is now coming out and saying we got to stop the ban. Whatever we got to do, we got to put something in something to get rid of this because yes, we're starting to realize that in less than 6 months we're going to destroy the hemp industry, and so especially the flower industry. And again, they keep saying it's not going to affect that fiber or grain, but it's going to continue to keep taking that in the wrong direction. Trust me. So I'm fully now. I'm gonna raise, probably go to 98% at this point. If I was 80% even a week or two ago, I'm gonna raise it to 98%. That in the next 135 days, we will see a ban on the ban in the federal government. And again, they're coming out and maybe, just maybe, they're watching the show and they're listening to my words. But what they're figuring out is they want regulations. They don't want the ban. Okay? I was screaming it last week. Prohibition doesn't work. Somebody at the White House was listening, and they're now saying, yes, this is a terrible idea. And again, I honestly think this goes back to, the same way that the marijuana industry has tackled the fact that it's federally illegal, and that's because the states decided. We go back to the old rules. Okay, just don't even just take the ban away and don't ever mention it again, and let the states decide. I think that there's enough information out. I mean, there's already states that are saying, "Hey, we're going to pass laws now that are basically going to put hemp in the same category as marijuana because they're going to say these products are illegal, which federally marijuana is illegal." Okay, um, to protect the industries that we so appreciate in the states from hemp. And so, um, that really should be the best case scenario. The federal government does not need to write the regulations specifically on hemp. They just need to go back to how it was written before, and then let the states decide what to do. And every state that's made the right decision so far has made it 21 and above, and that's it. And so it's really not that difficult of a decision to just say the ban on on whatever it is that they actually ban, because once again it's this intoxicating hemp. And I know that THC, and what they were trying to cap was total THC in the flower, and including THCA in that, and blah 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 blah. And again, they just need to get rid of, just go back to what it was, let the states decide, and go from there. And what the federal government really needs to do, if it wants to clarify regulations on hemp, is create separate regulations for the fiber industry and create separate regulations for the grain industry. And those regulations can be the same. And all those regulations have to say is, as long as it's a recognized hemp cultivar, the farmer grows it, and we don't care how much THC is in it. We don't care. All right? If all of a sudden some rumor starts to get out there that some fiber grower or some grain grower, which again, there's zero chance that anybody that gets a license or gets accepted to grow, and again, I don't think they should have to get a license. I think you go to your seed provider and you say, "Hey, I want to grow this cultivar of hemp seed. Can you get this in for me? I want to grow for grain, and this is one of the best. And this is the one I want to grow." And the farmer buys it. He takes it to his farm. He plants it. He grows his hemp grain, and he sells it to the food industry at the end of the day. And then we don't need government oversight. We don't need the police watching this. We don't need helicopters flying over. We don't need testing at the end of the year. All right? No other crop in the whole world has to be tested for one specific substance to make sure that it's okay to have. It's just the most ridiculous restriction on nature that we've ever provided. And it's really super ridiculous when you look at it from the hemp perspective. We can literally, now divide the hemp industry into three major categories. All right, CBD or flower, fiber to make material, clothing, whatever else. And that same, I would include in that fiber I would just say stalk. Let's call it the stalk industry. Stalk is where the fiber is. The stalk is where that herd is, or the shiv that we make hempcrete out of, or use for animal bedding, or any of its. We make coffins, mycelium hemp coffins, and so that's a whole industry, but that's actually two industries. So the stock industry we can break down into two industries, two separate industries for the most part. Okay, and then we have the grain industry, and the grain industry can be, we can go multiple directions there, because the most important part of the grain industry is the nutritional value of the seed. The second important part of that is the fact that it is a great fuel. Okay, the third part of that is that you can make composites to replace plastic. And so, there may be 3 parts of the plant. All right. And the only one that needs to be regulated is the flower. And of course, the problem with that argument is, Beach, the grain grows in the flower, and so you have to break it into the grain industry. You have the flower industry and the grain industry. Yes, same part of the plant, 100% different end products, and then multiple, whatever it is, and so the fact that they want to focus on the negatives, their moral issue, we got to do this for the kids, which is freaking ridiculously stupid for the kids. I just hate for the kids argument. It's the most ridiculous argument in the world. What they might as well be saying is they're doing it for the stupid parents. Because if the kids get into this stuff, then you have to blame the parents. But they can't say that. They're going to make it sound like they're trying to save the kids. But what they're really doing is saying, you parents are stupid. Because, the adults that are enjoying these products are obviously going to, give them to their kids or something. It's just so dumb. It's just so, again, regulation and education is the only way. And every adult in the United States of America has the right to choose cannabis in whatever form they want it. And the minors have a right to choose it in every form but the flower. Anyway. So, I do think that, again, the federal ban goes away for now. And what the industry needs to do is pressure the White House to get these things divided up. In all honesty, once again, if we're going to rewrite policy or regulation on hemp farming, then we need to go one direction for this and another direction for that, and that's easy. I've said it more than once. All I need is 1 hour in the White House. 1 hour in the White House, and I'll have all of this worked out. Guaranteed. 1 hour in the White House is all I need. I mean, honestly, I could do it in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably do it in a minute because I could have it all on paper before I go in there. But anyway, I'm just saying, if they really want to do this right, there's only a handful of us that actually could consult to get this done right, because there are so many people that still want this to work out for them in a greedy way. We're 344 episodes into the High Noon Hemp Show. Guess how many episodes I've been paid for so far? 0. All right. I have never for 1 minute, and I'm not saying that, again, I was a millionaire. The businesses were unbelievable before COVID. But not 1 minute was I in it for the money. Do I feel like I was wholeheartedly a success because of that? And I'm still a success because we're still open after 30 years. But I sure didn't do it. I didn't want to sell hemp 30 years ago because I thought it was going to make me rich. Not even for a second. No delusions of grandeur. And I want the right regulations and laws in the United States of America to work so thousands, if not millions, of Americans can become rich in the hemp industry. Right now, they can't do it. We're still so held back by all the gobbledygook and all the blah, blah, blah. But we remove that, and, that the cotton industry doesn't want that. Hell, the alcohol industry doesn't want that. Monsanto doesn't want that. They want to continue to make hemp hard to grow so the average farmer doesn't grow it, because it will destroy every one of those industries. It has the potential. I won't say it will. That's delusions of grandeur. But it sure has the potential to hurt their bottom lines if they don't get involved in the industry, which I don't understand. I definitely, I think that's why and again, the big THC drink makers, they can't really go as big as they want to go, because even the rescheduling is going to prohibit them from. You can't call it, a medical THC drink and sell it out of the corner gas store. And so, the major alcohol industry is still going to stay away from it, which is great for the little players. Honestly, they're not now. When this ban, if the ban gets banned, we may see a change there. If the day after that federal ban gets banned, it wouldn't surprise me then now if major drink companies come out and say, okay, we now realize we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to get in this industry, because it will make those hemp THC drinks legal again, even though they're not illegal yet. But they will be in 135 days if we don't change something federally. We'll see. We will see. All right. So, for all intent and purpose, SB 56 is no longer a thing in Ohio. It literally, multiple judge rulings in the state have proven that it is not legal. It was not legal. And so it's kind of, and here's the thing is, you're not really seeing too much, but it's kind of just they're not going to talk about it, but it's pretty much a done deal that it's not effective, and not, they are, not going to be able to regulate those, the SB 56, which is, again, go back 3 or 4 months ago when they started this whole thing, when the governor signed it. And 100%, I will tell you, those were my exact words then as they are now. And I am surprised that it took so long. I really am surprised that it took so long. But that being said, it really wasn't that long. I had almost given up hope, but it was really only 2.5 months or so. And so, we'll see. I maybe only because these idiots are idiots. Hopefully, they're at least going to leave it alone until the midterms. I mean, we're voting for a governor this year. I'm pretty sure old DeSwine is ibbity bibbity gone. Now, is he going to go out like in a flame of stupidity and keep trying to do something with this? Or is he just going to shut up? And because, again, if he doesn't shut up, he's only going to hurt his party. He's only going to hurt, the Republicans' chance of becoming governor in Ohio. And so, he cannot associate himself with the dude running for governor. Honestly, it's only going to hurt him. Anyway, so there we have that. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on with the old product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on my New Hemp Show. Hey, there we go. The 420 craft drinks. Nothing's going to be better to celebrate your Independence Day weekend if you are doing so with a little THC, hemp THC. Lemonade, two different lemonades. Again, is there? I don't know where a lemonade originated from. I might even have to check that out. But it's probably been around for a while, only because the citrus thing with scurvy. Lemonade was probably invented on those ships. You know what I mean? I don't know. Saltwater lemonade, how's that taste? No, you got root beer, you got a cherry cola. So 25 milligrams and 50 milligram drinks, ready for your celebrations. Remember to drink THC responsibly. About some the gummies, the old gummies, yes. As well as you want to drink THC responsibly, consume your THC gummies responsibly. A new favorite game of mine, and I don't go out a lot, to be honest with you, but a new favorite game has become spot the old people on gummies at the bar, because a lot of times they just don't get it. And it's fun. It's okay.
Nice.
They're not starting fights or anything like that. The worst is like the one is like they'll be like really loud for a second, and then they'll like literally be asleep. And then they'll wake up 10 minutes later and be drinking, and Anyway, fun little game called Spot the Old Person on THC Gummies. The next for your holiday or your Independence Day celebrations. We need hemp straws. You need some hemp utensils for the picnic. These are I think these are great to once again, like even to take out on the boat if you're going to do some boating, because again these get blown overboard or into the river. They are both biodegradable and compostable, and so it's not like your hemp straw but getting blown into the river and then making its way to the Gulf of Mexico and floating around the Gulf of Mexico if it's if you're in the river. Either way, these products will not do that. They will break down naturally, become part of Earth again with no harm done. No harm done. I have more on these like products in the news because I'm super, super excited to show you a hemp product that is, it's making my day, and I hope that it makes yours in some euphoric way. Oh, shoot. That's hemp composites for you, though. Hemp composites, they truly make me feel euphoric. And then, of course, how about a hemp flag? This is a good old Hempies flag. If you need a flag. Now, the one thing that the worst thing about this Hempies flag, you have to figure out like how to clip it onto something, or you have to add your own little grommets, which is what I've done to my personal Hempies flag, which from my door is my personal Hempies flag as well. Folded properly for storage. I pulled it out of storage today to take this picture because I do need to get it up on the back of the boat. And so, yes, I know how to properly fold a flag. I always think it's funny how a lot of time I get accused of being, say, unpatriotic, and I can almost guarantee you that I am more patriotic. And again, I'm not bragging about it. It's just the nature of my, I have my grandfather's flag that was given to my grandfather by the military who attended his funeral for what he had done in World War II when he passed away in the 90s. I still have that flag again, and so anyway, there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Indeed. Which, of course, brings us to the greatest segment in internet history. Of course, and I'm still waiting for somebody to prove me wrong. It's been almost 8 years now, and no one's proved me wrong yet. And they never, ever will. That's my prediction. In any case, we, of course, talk about all of the hemp products that Beach owns throughout the shows, and all of the hemp clothing, the monumental, massive amount of hemp clothing that Beach has, and all of the hemp records, especially when it comes to clothing, that Beach has set and now holds. All these records, of course, not recognized by the Guinness World Records. They have an official policy against cannabis. So before we check out what Beach is wearing, we'd like to go see what the Guinness World Records Corporation is focused on. Today we have something, well, it's something cute, I guess the best way you would put it. It's not earth-shattering or earth-changing in any way, but it is a 10-month-old kitten named Toby Henderson who was tied the long-standing Guinness World Records title for most toes on a cat with 28. Cat has 28 toes, and the Guinness World Records devoted a team to this record. And well,
that cat is super pterodactyl, because that's the pterodactyl, which is the term for the six-toed cat.
Right.
But that one obviously is a seven-toed cat on all feet.
Right.
So,
it's not great for
that is one highly evolved cat right there.
He's ready. He's ready for anything.
I mean, there is no tree unclimbable. There is no fly that it cannot bat out of the air.
See, the Guinness World Records, they have an official policy against hemp and cannabis, but if you have a cat and it has 28 toes, well, you can tie the record. If you have a cat that has 29, well, you are a record holder officially. Just contact the Guinness World Records and let them know, and they'll be right out. They'll get a team on a plane, and they will get to you to get pictures and chronicle your cat that has so many extra toes. Thank you, Guinness World Records.
I have to say, it's an adorable little cat. I love a sucker for a cat. So
that's right.
Especially a freak. I love the freaks. Freaks of nature rule. Anyway,
again, the Guinness World Records will cover the freaks, not hemp.
Freaks.
Now you go to our favorite hemp freak. That's right. It's Beach, and we ask Beach one simple question: what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Well, I tried to go, as much red, white, and blue as I could. And so up top there, you've got a Headcase Hemptations 420 hat. That's a Young Maven tee. My shorts are made by Large, LRG. You can see my Hempies belt holding those up. In my pocket, of course, is my Green Springs technology. And so far, well, I'll explain that in a minute. My socks are, I almost forgot, I have my Hemptopia briefs, my Hemp Traders socks, and Adidas Sambas, putting it all together. For the record, everything but my shoes were made in the United States, as far as I know. My socks could have been imported to Hemp Traders. I cannot make sure, but I'm pretty sure everything else. I know the Headcase was in New Jersey. Young Maven's still in California. Large is here. You know what? I might have to check my Large shorts. Might not surprise me if those weren't made in China. I should have looked. Didn't think about that. Hemptopia is a United States company, and so I tried to. I really should have probably at least worn my, if it would have fit in my Patagonia shorts or hat that both have American-grown hemp as a part of them. But either way, there you have it. If you're wondering, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know on this fine High Noon Hemp Show Wednesday. All right, well, here's a little trailer, and we'll be back with some news and some history. is here. It's
Indeed.
there. It should be everywhere. Someday I will write a Susian hemp something. I can't believe I've taken this long not to do it. If I'm going to write poetry, it will probably be Susian.
Right.
Theodore Geisel was a genius. Um, so, Spotlight Company this week is Bison Biocomposites. And so here's a little info, and I'm going to put their info up for contact now. These guys are out. I think that I may have reported that they were coming, but they're fully operational now. The Facebook video, and if I could have shown the video, I would have shown the video, but I couldn't figure out how to download it. They were pouring a huge slab of prefabricated hempcrete. I would have guessed that the tray they were pouring into was 20 feet by 40 feet. I don't know. But they do all kinds of composites. And again, in Nebraska, but they'll work anywhere in the United States. So if you have, some interest in that, you can obviously go to their website, bisonbiocomposites.com. Here is their information. Tina Jones is the rep that posted this, and I saw, and so she can get full credit for turning me on to this company, and now I'm turning it on to you, the world. These are the businesses. Once again, I keep mentioning it. These are the businesses that are going to be the national leaders in 5 or 10 years. And so, it was interesting to me, and I was going to mention this in another part of the show, but, Idaho has come out and claimed that the reason that they're growing less hemp is because of demand. And that this to me, and this is, this was my question way before we were putting seeds into the ground this year, is how would this future ban affect the current farming? And this is 100% it. This is like when the alcohol industry came out and said the reason that alcohol sales were down were because of Gen Z, when it was 100% the fact that THC drink consumption was crushing the alcohol industry and still isn't helping in all the other places other than Ohio, but now we're back on track in Ohio. And so, Idaho is they're and this is what I don't like about it, is the fact that I don't think that that's true at all. It's just that the farmers are once again looking at the ban for the flower, and if that's what was being grown in Idaho. But once again, the demand for the stalk and the demand for the grain is out there, 100%. And so it's not like the demand for the flower, but there are more and more every day um, clothing makers that want to use hemp. And again, the food thing, I know for a fact, Canada, I think, still to this day has like a standing order for any organic hemp seed that they can find in the world, because their demand for organic hemp seed is crazy. And that's what I don't understand about why our demand to grow hemp grain in the United States isn't higher, when all we got to do is go right up to Canada and just see how much they're growing for the food industry. That's a whole different thing. But um, if you're looking to do something with the hempcrete or insulation of any of sorts, look into bison biocomposites, and use them if you can. And so we have to support these industries. The demand we need, the supply we need, and that's how economics works, one way or another. And so there you go. There's just a little bit about the bison biofill. I see. And so either way, um, that's the exclusive product that they have, and so duly, you know, I'm all about, you know, patents associated with um, hempcrete and any of that stuff. I mean, here's the deal, and this is what I cannot believe. Um, the first person that can patent the formula for load bearing hempcrete is a billionaire in less than 10 years. Um, can you do that? I would think so. If you come up with a specific formula for hempcrete that then passes the load bearing laws or specifics, then I would think you should be able to get a patent on that. I mean, here's the thing. And this started as soon as hemp farming for the fiber got big, is what we see is a lot of modern patents on processing the stalk, which I saw coming because I knew, as soon as we were doing it here in the United States, we were going to take modern technology and move that part of the industry forward exponentially, and so there's no doubt in my mind that there are endless at this point, and they're getting filed, by the hundreds. Trust me, I guarantee it. Um, Hemp industry patents, because there was no hemp industry for who would have filed a hemp industry. Who would have filed a patent for something? And this would have been the genius if I really, really was thinking about it when I was rich. I really would have filed a bunch of patents, but then I would have had to specifically, make the machines and had to get engineers help me and blah, blah. But again, the idea is they're endless. So anyway, there you have it. Bison biocomposites. You know how much I love the word composites, especially when it's hemp composites. So feeling a little euphoric just talking about it. Anyway, all right. Well, how about old Target? Target is rolling out. That has rolled out their THC drinks in Texas. And so, good for Target because everything in Texas is bigger, as they say. And so it was a genius idea. Now, I think there are other states where this is coming. I think that, and I don't know if Target is. Are they out of Texas? I don't know where Target came from as a store or where their headquarters are. I think that it's, and again, here's why they chose Texas over California. California's hemp laws are stupid. All right, Newsom, possibly the next president of the United States, totally screwed the hemp industry um, with a temporary ban that became a temporary ban that became a full blown ban without really any consult or anything. And so California's hemp laws are just stupid because I would have thought that's where Target would have. I mean, come on. But no, Texas. Texas is where they rolled out. And I know I reported about this months ago how Texas Target was going to do that. And I think it was even maybe at the beginning of the year. No, it was, and I don't know how this has been going. It was Circle K was supposed to roll out a semi-national THC drinks in certain states. So I haven't heard of none of that, but Target has done it. Target. And Target's been selling hemp products. I remember, being at the Target I don't know, maybe 6, 8 years ago, and there's hemp cream and lotion and shampoo as in the as you're leaving to pay, like those um,
Mm.
point of sale purchases that they try to get you going out the door. And so, it was also at Menards. I
Mm.
remember seeing hemp lotion, like in one of their little, like when you go in, it was one of the first little middle cap things that they had. So anyway, it's but Target rolling out their THC drinks. It's yeah, not coming to Ohio. Maybe now they might. Anyway, we'll see. Um, so North Carolina, be warned. The fact that I'm seeing Franny Tacey out there in the news again means you guys are totally messing up. If you don't know, Franny's farm um, quickly became the most famous hemp farm in North Carolina. I would guess at this point 10 years ago. I went down there for a weekend. Um, I think it was shortly after North Carolina legalized, probably within the first year or so. She may have been one of the first um, crops in North Carolina, for that matter. Um, and so, true hemp farmer pioneer. And again, I mean, was the person that they fell back on 9 times out of 10 when they had an issue with hemp in North Carolina. And, this is the first time I think um, that things weren't really going the right direction. Anyway, I don't know. And so, North Carolina, beware, because Franny's back on the fight, and you can't take her on. You wait and see. Um, you wait and see. All right. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. Here is the product that I think is um, the coolest, newest composite. Are you there? Am I here? Are we
I,
there? Here we are. All
indeed.
right, look at this. This is getting made. Everyday Hemp Company in Portland is making the first plant-based pallet wrap that exists. And again, this is stuff. This is plastic. This is plastic that, I mean, I just can't even imagine how much of this gets consumed every day. I mean, the plastic made out of petroleum that does this job, because there isn't a stacked pallet in a warehouse that doesn't get wrapped with this stuff. Not one.
Mm.
Nobody puts anything on a pallet. Now, it might be heavy white plastic, even a heavier white plastic, if it's something that's like really needs to be held in. But this stuff is predominantly the go-to. We're talking millions and millions and millions of pallets, I don't know, a day getting moved in the United States with this stuff wrapped around it. That's a lot of oil for one product.
Yeah.
That's a lot of synthetic waste for one product. Does anybody recycle it? I think it gets wadded up into the small, and it does become compact into a pretty small little ball when you wad it up, but it gets thrown in the trash and it goes to the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
This, again, this is a game changing, this is a planet changing product right here. And if they can get in 10% of the industry right now, again, this is one hemp product that only has to get into 10% of the current industry, and they'll be billionaires, and this company will be worth $1 billion in less than 10 years. Now, in less than 10 years, they'll own 50% of the market. They'll own 50% of the market. If it's really true, this is the first plant-based pallet wrap. The first plant-based pallet wrap. Again, this is, I mean, this is $1 billion business. Without a doubt. Everyday hemp company. And they are also doing straws and cutlery, which is also compostable, all of it. Again, you can wad this up when you're done with it and bury it in your yard. I'm just, 50% of this market exponentially sends the planet, 1% closer, 2% closer to the world, the hemp world we should live in. I should, I know they've got like the doomsday clock. I should have like the count up hemp clock, where like every time I find a product like this, I say, okay, this is taking us, exponentially closer to the planet we all deserve to live on. And again, these guys are just going to get rich on it, and they're not, they're going to, do their 0.5% of saving the planet with all the other hemp products, but exponentially in a huge manner. And guess what? It doesn't matter. The dudes wrapping the pallets don't care.
Right.
They're not going to be like, oh my God, this is hemp-based composite. I can't work with this. They're just going to wrap the pallet with it, and they're going to go about their day, and they're not going to think about it for 1 minute. They don't care what it's made out of now, and they're not going to care what it's made out of in the future. But the benefits are unbelievable. Anyway, see, there I go again, just getting super excited about ending plastic. Oh, man. All right. So I found out, and I can't believe that I did that. I think I did actually kind of know something about this, because I feel like I had a poster once that had Magoo. But Magoo is the Taoist hemp goddess of longevity. And so, if you do any type of daily rituals spiritually, add Magoo to the circle. I'm gonna have to see if they find that poster and see if that's part of the poster that we used to have, if not an image of Magoo, a Taoist hemp goddess of longevity. It's Taoist, but I believe it's pronounced Taoist, but I'm not sure. I gotta look back into that in one of my religions books. But they are very, very, very earth friendly as a Eastern Orthodox religion. Most of them are, honestly, because they're anyway. So I thought this was a very ironic headline, and it was Puff Puff Pave. As hemp ban takes effect, lawmakers renew push for pot tax to repair roads, or potholes, which is what they had a picture of. what I think is funny about this is the fact that you can actually make hempcrete to repair the pothole, but you've banned hemp, so you can't do that. But you want to get the taxes from the pot industry to repair the pothole. Hopefully, you use hemp. I don't know. It's a weird circle of question marks, to be honest with you, which is where I find the humor. All right. Okay. Event wise, I have not got confirmation, but next Tuesday should be the medical marijuana meetup at Mad Tree, which I have a huge conflict possibly with because Stephen Marley and Buju Banton are at Riverfront Live, which I can get on my kayak off the back of the boat, and it takes me about 10 minutes to get to their outdoor pavilion where I can drop an anchor and sit in my kayak and listen to a concert like I paid for a ticket. And so this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. I really enjoy the medical marijuana meetups. I learned something about hemp when I'm there. I represent hemp as one of the hemp people. So we'll see how this all works out. I feel like I had another event that I was going to mention, but no, I think it's something that's coming up later. So I have plenty of time to let you know about it. And if you know of any, hempcrete, big hempcrete events or anything related to hemp, not as much the CBD or the flower industry, so to speak, let me know, and I'll try to get that information on the events part of the calendar so we can let everybody out there watching know about it as well. Okay, so hemp in the Americas. We're celebrating 250 years as the United States of America. Now, to be clear, hemp was not here. The Europeans brought it here. And if you think Christopher Columbus or Amerigo Vespucci were the first to bring hemp here with their ships, you would also be wrong. Because it was the Vikings that brought hemp to Americas well before the Southern Europeans. I mean, I don't know if Vikings were Europeans and the way the whole thing works out, by modern terms, I should say. And so, but there is no doubt. And again, now they're even backing up Viking time period 500 years. They have now found a Viking settlement that predates the oldest Viking settlement by 500 years. And Vikings were well endowed with the hemp. Same thing. The ships, but the clothing, everything. They would not have gotten here without it. In the same way, and I've said this quite a bit, that the discovery, not the discovery, the voyages of the world by the Europeans do not happen, right, wrong, or indifferent, without hemp. The riggings that brought those ships here, the sails, probably a lot of the clothing. They even sealed the bottom of the ships with a hemp oil resin to keep the water from coming in. Normally, once again, a ship like any other wood ship swells up and stays pretty sealed. But they would actually do that. So anyway, that's when hemp actually got to the Americas. It was not indigenous to any part of America, not one. And so it came here. Now, the Vikings, due to their, I think, lack of success to really successfully populate the areas of the Americas, um, probably kept them from being the first hemp farmers, true hemp farmers, long hemp farmers. And they may have tried to grow hemp where they were, which when they, again, the Greenland, Iceland, wherever that was, Greenland, I'm pretty sure, not positive. It may have been Iceland. They're not real agriculturally known regions of the world. So it might have made it very. It might have been even one of the reasons why they um, weren't as successful at populating where they went. Um, I don't know. Honestly, I can only hypothesize as to how all that went down. Um, but what I do know is um, hemp was essential, if not the biggest part of the reason we are the United States of America. And um, it was such an essential part of the revolution that Thomas Jefferson illegally smuggled hundreds of thousands of tons of hemp seed out of Russia through Great Britain and into the Americas because it was essential. This is where, at one point or another, the United States, the USS Constitution, was rigged with half Russian hemp sales and half American made grown hemp sales to prove that our hemp was just as good. And it was just as important to the Navy to have this, um, again, essential to the fight. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, both hemp farmers. The rumor was that, like I said, Abraham Lincoln, used to read his books in Kentucky to the light of a hemp oil lamp. But the and I want to first and foremost, and I didn't first and foremost put the disclaimer on there as to how I feel. I'm very, you know, I'm very cross at how I feel about how the Europeans, and even to this day, treat the indigenous people of the Americas. Now, I want to take claim to the Lenape in me. That supposedly the rumor was that, when the Lenape Indians were coming across the top part of Ohio, and again, the Lenape Indians were one of the first Indians to be kicked off their land in New Jersey. And as they were making their way away as far as they could, um, supposedly one married into my family. And this, and I have, even if I'm 0% Lenape, I have done as much research on them as I can. I have as many books as I could find on them specifically, and so either way, that's my point is I stand with the indigenous people and their right as the true citizens of the Americas. Um, and and I also, I mean, you cannot deny the United States of America. And so, this is the history of it, which doesn't make up for the history of it in certain circumstances. And, it led to enslaved people growing hemp. We don't, luckily, I shouldn't say luckily because I don't ever sweep it under the table. I always talk about it. I'm not going to act like it didn't happen so that I can say it didn't happen, because it happened. Henry Clay was one of the biggest hemp farmers in the United States in Lexington, Kentucky. He was growing 600 acres on his own right there in what is now, almost downtown Lexington. And he had enslaved humans doing this for him. Now, the good from bad there. His son became an abolitionist. He became anti-enslavement, and his wife was part of the suffrage movement. So, although Henry Clay, luckily, um, you know, um, it didn't continue. It stopped before. Anyway, um, so that's the the negative part, but it's the part that shows, I don't know, the true history of how embedded this plant was with the founding of what is now the United States of America. To the fact that in Virginia, and these were under the same kind of standards of law. This mentality came out of doctrines from the king in England that were put on hemp previous to this, that said if you grew a certain amount of acreage in crops, you had to grow hemp. That was true in the United States. It was legal tender in the United States because it was so important to the government that once again it was mandatory to grow. If you grew a certain amount of acreage of anything, you had to grow a certain amount of acreage of hemp by law. And so, that was a part of what that was. You jump up to the day that we're approaching Independence Day. I think that I don't understand. I think that it's so funny that pro Christmas people have such an issue with, say, Xmas or Happy Holidays, but we so don't want to call Independence Day Independence Day. July 4th is just another day. Independence Day is celebrating independence. And again, right, wrong, or indifferent to how we acquired the land to be independent from the land we did not want to be dependent on anymore, because we didn't want a king. Declaration of Independence, both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, multiple drafts written on hemp paper. Now, the final drafts, the signed drafts, were parchment. They believed at the time, for some reason, which I think is kind of interesting, that the parchment paper would last longer. Now, I don't know about the drafts and how they're stored. I do know that the parchment paper has to be stored in the exact proper condition, or it would come apart. I don't know about I'd like to see a standard strength test. Of course, we're not going to take a little bit of the Constitution, just a little bit, and compare it to a little bit of one of the drafts, just to see which paper's stronger. Because if we open up that case to the Constitution, you know what? Under the current administration, it would probably disappear and we'd never see it again. I don't want to start conspiracy theories before they happen. Anyway, but as we celebrate this Independence Day, and again, that's all I think about. I'm just hoping that there's I'm going to get up and I'm going to wear my hemp, and I'm going to appreciate what hemp did to make this independence. And everybody's going to be out there shooting off fireworks. It should be a tradition that you go buy a hemp product in or around Independence Day to show your appreciation for what actually could have been the game changer as to how we became independent. But what do we shoot off fireworks. All right. And as much as anyway, I'm just picturing the ridiculous world record breaking fireworks display that's supposedly being planned by our illustrious leader that is going to cover Washington, D.C. in 2 inches of soot. I don't know if it's true or not. But they're not hemp fireworks, so it could go in the Guinness Book of World Records. Anyway. But, we all hang our flags. Most of these flags today are made out of petrochemicals. You know what that flag was made out of when Betsy Ross made it? Hemp. And if it wasn't hemp, it was wool. And if you find a United States of American flag that has less than, I believe, 37 stars on it, then it will be made out of wool or hemp. That's my understanding, and I believe it. Because hemp, as to be proven with the sails and the riggings and all that, is the only thing that can take the punishment of nature. And that's why now we're making, again, how un-American is it that we're using oil from who knows where to make the flags that fly everywhere, when the original flags were made out of hemp? But, those big old synthetic flags got to wave in the air so they can throw those nanoparticles out into the wind, and we can get those nanoplastics into the highest parts of the mountains and get those nanoplastics into the deepest part of the oceans. We could just be growing hemp and making all the flags and we need out of it. And maybe they don't last as long. Of course they're not going to last as long. But maybe you could take pride in wearing out your hemp flag and buy another one. And however many years it might take for it to wear out. And it'd take a while. And it would last your lifetime if you only put it out for Veterans Day and Independence Day and Military Day and those type of things. It'll last your life if you do that. If you are someone that hangs a flag out somewhere every day, it'd be interesting to see how long that hemp flag would last. One of the biggest mistakes I'm thinking of right now is not having the picture of me holding the big hemp flag in front of the State House in Iowa. And we also took it to the State House in Illinois and walked through there with it. That picture actually gained a little bit of national traction when I was out on the hemp road trip with the hemp flag that was made from Kentucky grown hemp. And this was 10 years ago. I'll hunt it up and have it on the show next week. How about that? Or, you know what? Pay attention to my feed, Facebook. Maybe I'll try to remember to do Twitter and all of them on Independence Day. I'm going to try to. Maybe I'll spend part of Independence Day when I'm not out trying to find the eagles on the river. They should be out playing with the kids. I'm super excited because it is this time of year that I get out on the river and go north. And Bonnie and Clyde have a nest again. I don't know, 20 minutes up. And they literally, the babies go and play and train to fish right there, and I can sit and watch them. So, and I have a picture, and again, it was probably, I don't know how long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, where I was out kayaking on Independence Day on the river, and then I just sat there underneath the bald eagles, and so. Either way, and again, that's a connection with the birds, not necessarily a connection with my patriotism, by the way. But anyway, all right, folks. Well, everybody, no matter where you are, thanks for watching. We do appreciate it. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See you all next week.